This is E-Moto 101, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to keep yourself safe on the trails. Let's start off with riding gear. So I have a lot of different things that I wear when I'm on the bike, but the most important thing is obviously a helmet. This is by the brand Arrow, and it's a really sexy looking helmet, but it's honestly not that expensive. This is about a $170 helmet. I think I got it imported from Spain because they don't actually sell these in America. They might have changed that since. But I really like this helmet. This is the Arrow Twist 3 and a lot of good safety features. One thing I really like about this helmet and other helmets that do this is that they have these little pull tabs right here. This is kind of nice because it allows you to take the liner out of the inside of this and clean it. Say if you're in a bad crash and you don't want to move someone's neck, what can be done is you can take these cheek pads out. So rather than putting pressure on their neck when you're trying to pull the helmet off, this takes that pressure off, pulls the cheek pads out, and it's a lot easier to get the helmet off. So yeah, number one is helmet. This is like a for sure thing. Every single ride that I'm on, I have a helmet on. You know, even if I'm just like goofing around. That goes for bicycles too. Typically I'm wearing a helmet now. Didn't always used to be that way, but yeah, pretty much every single time I'm on my E-Moto, I'm always wearing a helmet. I'm wearing one that's either DOT or Snell or some European standard of safety, just making sure I have the safest helmet possible. The second most important piece of gear for me is a pair of really good riding boots. These are the Tech 7s by Alpinestars. This is like a step below their top grade boot. So it's not the most expensive product that they have. Honestly, I'm a pretty like super sale kind of shopper. And I think these retail for about like $350, and I got these on eBay, kind of a closeout deal for $240. I actually kind of like these more for trail riding. I used to have a pair of Tech 10s back in the day, and you know, it's kind of a balance between safety and comfort. And for me, this kind of hits the right mark. Maybe someday I'll try another pair of Tech 10s. I'd love to try their Enduro version of this that have a better sole and also have some waterproofing. But yeah, boots are insanely important to me. I've saved my ankles so many times, and I'm really glad I have a good pair of boots, and I recommend that you invest in these because this is right up there with a helmet. After that, I want to talk about eyewear. So super important to keep your eyes safe, especially when you're on the trails, if you're getting dusted by someone else, but also just protecting yourself from bugs and things like that. This is a brand of goggles by the brand Havoc. Josh actually gave me these. He's been wearing these for a while and we sell them at the shop. Usually what I do is I just have a clear lens and I have a tinted lens. But for this setup, rather than having to have two separate goggles, what's cool about these is that they're magnetic. So you can easily carry one of these with you. You only have to have technically one pair of goggles and you just bring multiple lenses. I basically decide depending on the day which ones I want. So if it's super overcasty out, obviously I'm gonna wear the clear lens. That's usually like early morning on a kind of rainy day. Most of the time though, if I know the sun's gonna come out, I'll just wear the tinted. It's also super important to wear a nice pair of gloves. These are by the brand Alpinestars. Most of my gear is these days for kind of the pants, jersey, gloves type stuff. I like these. They're a good medium between lightweight. You want to have good feel on the bike. You know, that's important to be able to feel the bike properly. That's a safety thing in itself. But yeah, these protect my hands. They don't really tear on me. They're a nice lightweight kind of leathery type glove, breathable, Velcro. Make sure you get the right size. You want these to be snug, but not like crazy tight. My kind of rule of thumb is like you don't want them to be having a lot of pressure on your fingertips when you first try these on. So I used to wear a medium for a while and I was kind of between a medium and a large, and I just found that it took too long to break in the medium gloves. So I switched to large and I really love these. The next thing is knee and elbow guards. I wear pretty much always EVS stuff for my body protection things. So these are little elbow guards. Nothing hard about them. It's just kind of a foam that basically it's comfortable enough and it bends, but upon like big impact, it hardens up. This stuff's super nice and comfortable. I don't know if I would get this model again. I don't remember the model exactly, but they slip down sometimes if I'm on a moto track or something where I'm bouncing around a lot. I think a lot of it is just the rubbers wearing off on the inside. But elbow guards are super important. I didn't used to wear those, but as soon as I started trail riding more versus moto stuff, I found them super important just because I was hurting my elbows. Knee guards are also insanely important. For me, this is kind of a non-negotiable. You're always at risk of hitting your knee on the bike. And also it's just more comfortable to have a nice knee guard like this that sits properly on around your leg. And why that is one, obviously it protects your knee and your shin and all of that stuff, but also it gives you some nice foam here on the inside of your knee so you can squeeze the bike more easily and you don't get bruised as much. yeah, these are great. These are the Sleiko Axel Hodges model from EVS, and would highly recommend these. They have the TP199s, that's the Travis Pastrana version. You can get pods, you can get really heavy duty knee guards and spend $1,000, and there is some benefit to doing that, but it's kind of nice to stay nimble on the bike, and honestly, these protect you really well. Kind of in alignment with that, and this is something I kind of started wearing recently, is this Bionic Pro, I guess it's like a riding short that you wear under your pants. What I love about this is it's kind of like almost like a cycling type chamois that's on the inside. So, you know, it absorbs sweat, I suppose, protects your butt a little bit from the seats, a little bit more comfortable. But the main reason I got this is because of the hip pads right here. I had kind of a bad crash on a trail, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 months ago, and pretty severely bruised my hip. Honestly, I thought I broke something when it happened, and as soon as that happened, I just decided I'm gonna invest in something like this. I also have a nephew who rides, and he was on a motocross track and he bruised his hip, and he ended up having some like really bad infection and had to go to the emergency room. And yeah, all I can say is that I think it's really important to invest in something like this. It doesn't have to be Alpine Stars. I think this is, you know, $130 short or something like that. Not really sure on price, but you know, there's something on Amazon, I'm sure, or something that is from a different sport that would work the same way. But the main point here is protect your hips, protect part of your legs, and yeah, the upper hip is what was most important for me about this particular model, is that they had this extra little padding up top. Super nice. Honestly, I'm more comfortable on the bike, and every crash that I've had, I just don't feel like I'm getting bruised up as much, and this is a big part of that. Here's the part of your kit where you can have a little bit of personality, the pants and the jerseys. So, like I said, I'm always looking for a deal, and this is, I think, their Fluid line for Alpine Stars. It's usually cheap to begin with, but also heavily discounted at kind of the end of the year. I got a few sets of these when they were last on a big discount on Rocky Mountain MC, and I don't like spending a ton of money when it comes to pants, especially for trail riding. You know, I live in Arizona. Trails have a lot of rocks, they have cacti, they have a lot of things, and you can see, you know, everything gets pretty torn up when it comes to this stuff. I'm catching a bunch of bushes and whatnot, but anyway, just look for a pant that fits your budget. It has good protective features. I don't think you need to have the best ones out there. Honestly, like I'm making do with a lot of this stuff. Like, I'll even stitch holes as soon as I get them. Yeah, I'm usually tearing through this stuff when I'm crashing. I have 2 or 3 sets that I kind of rotate through. This is my favorite currently. I love this color. I almost wish I would have bought more of these, but yeah, pants and jersey, super nice. They keep you comfortable on the bike. They protect your body. It's important to keep your arms covered and your legs covered. And, you know, just the right amount of mix between comfortable and abrasion resistant. The last piece of gear that I always ride with is a chest protector. This is also by the brand EVS. Kind of seems like I've leaned in toward their protection line of products. Yeah, it's just nice to have a chest protector that has back protection, chest protection. They make a lot of different models these days that even have more, you know, collarbone protection. I just like having something that I wear on the outside of my jersey, protects my ribs, protects my back, and, you know, since I've had this, a lot of crashes that I've had, usually I'm falling on my back or something like that, and it just saves me, honestly. And they hold up pretty well. I would say some of the glue is coming loose on this thing. I've just used it so many times, but yeah, nice and simple. Doesn't matter which one you get, but I would recommend having chest protection, especially when you're on the trails. Another thing that's super important to keeping yourself safe is keeping yourself hydrated when you're on the bike. So this is a bag by Usui. This is the, let me see, I think it's the Zulo 6. It's a 6-liter pack. What I really like about this pack is that it keeps the weight low on my body. I used to wear backpacks more, and I've kind of just opted more toward this. Yes, it's super minimal, but I can keep a lot of tools and things that I'll talk about in a second on the bike rather than on my body and in a backpack. And what I like about this is I usually always keep my main cell phone right here, and I keep my keys. I have a little S-Beaner locking kind of thing that I keep on there, and my car key. I just have the main car key for my vehicle locked on here, tucked away. I keep some snack bars, things like that in here. The bite valve this is the original one. I've actually changed this around a few times. For this bag, I found that it was worth upgrading to this Camelback. I find that if you just have like a normal magnet on something like this, it'll just easily pop right off. But what I like about this one is it has this kind of like magnet, but it also has a U-shaped hook, and it allows it to magnetize in easily, but also when you're riding and bouncing up and down, the hose doesn't fall loose. So this has definitely helped a lot with keeping the hose in place. I've also heard of people who use like a lighter leash or something like that, like something you'd use for a cigarette lighter basically, and just attaching it here so when you take a drink and you let go, it automatically goes back into place. And beyond just carrying water in here, I also carry some safety things. So I always have a little bit of toilet paper with me, whether that's for a runny nose or you know what. And this is super minimal right now. I need to actually restock this. And sometimes I'll carry an even bigger one, but just some first aid stuff, you know, for refilling water. I have some tabs in there, some aqua tabs, just in case I do need to refill on a stream somewhere and purify that. Because I live in the desert, this is not for my hair. A comb is actually useful in the desert if you get cacti in your skin. It's just an easier way to get under it and pluck it off. And hand sanitizer and Neosporin, and I usually have a bunch of bandages and things like that in here. Also, something that's super important is something like a Garmin InReach Mini. I love having something like this. It's just a way to hit an SOS button. It's a way for people to know exactly where you are. It's all dependent on the areas that you ride in. A lot of the areas that I'm in now, I actually don't feel like I need to carry this. I either have service or, you know, I can use my iPhone and use the satellite thing. But I would argue to say that, yes, you can do satellite communication on an iPhone, but it's a little finicky. Like you have to aim it in the right direction. And honestly, if you have a broken femur on the side of a trail, it's probably going to be a lot easier to just press a button on this thing. All right, on the subject of communication, let's talk about devices for maps. So this is actually not my regular iPhone. This is an old iPhone that I have, and basically all I use this one for is navigation. And why I do that is, you know, when you're on a bike and you have a phone like this mounted to your handlebars, by the way, this is by the brand Quad Lock. I really love their mounting system. It's super simple. I can mount this to the fattest part of my bar right down the center, mount my phone to it, put it in whatever orientation I want, and also I can charge it while it's on the bike, which is nice. When your bike is rattling your phone to death, what it ends up doing is damaging the stabilizers that are within your camera. I've had a few iPhones ruined by just getting rattled by my motorcycles. So I just kind of have a phone that I sacrifice for this. The only time I ever put my personal phone on the bike is if it's super smooth. But basically, yeah, I'm just connecting this via hotspot to my main phone. And once I get rolling, it just runs off satellite, it's fine. I use the app Onyx. I preload my maps, I have everything ready to go, and it works pretty well. If you don't want to have the phone out, if you know where you're going, I would just recommend having some way to securely hold your phone. This is something you can put on the strap of your backpack, or like in my hydration pack, I just pack it in a certain pocket, which works pretty well, but honestly, it's a little bit dangerous in that spot. So yeah, get a pouch for your phone, mount it on your bars, get a really nice secure mount, like something like a Quad Lock here. I wouldn't recommend something that just like grips your phone from the outside. You need something that actually has contact points, locks it in, and needs a lever to be pressed to be able to release it. By the way, this is just a universal mount. So this is an OtterBox case. They actually make, here, I'll grab it. This is my personal phone. This is a Quad Lock case. You can see that it's super nice and integrated within the case. That's nice. You pay a little bit more of a premium for this. If you already have a phone case that you like this phone, I just knew I needed something just cheap and easy. I think these are only like $13 versus like $40 to $80 for this case, depending on how new your phone is. So yeah, get yourself a Quad Lock, mount it to your bike, make sure you have power with you. Just to ensure that that is always charged up and ready and you don't get stranded out there. And that's that. I don't have all my tools with me today, so I'm not gonna like tear this apart and show you, but typically when I'm riding, I always have my tool roll, and inside my tool roll, I have everything that I need to work on the bike. I also carry an air pump, something that I can measure tire pressure. Because I am running a tubeless setup for my bike and I'm very particular about the tire pressures that are run in it, I make sure I have something accurate that can both fill the tire but also tell me an accurate PSI. Super nice. Yeah, tool roll unrolls. I have everything to change a tire in there, all the tools to work on the bike. I'll also carry tools up in something like a bar bag like this. Typically on the bar bag, I'll carry stuff that I need readily available. So I'll usually keep, for my Ultra B, I'll keep like all the little tools, things that I want to do for like adjusting controls, and I'll also keep a flathead screwdriver because I'm always doing suspension adjustments on the fly. So I like having the really handy, readily available stuff in this, and then bigger jobs where I need to like pull over and work for a while, I'll keep it in here. This depends on the ride. If I'm on a motocross track, I never take this. If I'm riding with friends, it's debatable. But this is just a spare belt, just in case I break it. I don't have enough power in my bike to break the belt necessarily, but it's possible to get rocks under here and shred these things in half. So I just always make sure if I'm going out alone that I always have one of these belts, and I really never want to have to do this on the trail, but it's better than pushing the bike out. And the last part is just bring the tire tools that you need. This isn't the pack that I usually take, but make sure if you're running like a tubeless setup or something like that, you have the tools to be able to change your tube, or you have these bacon strips, the sealant, whatever. Just make sure that you can fix your tire on the trail and you know how to do it. I know this is a lot of information. I know it's a lot of gear. I know it can be pretty expensive if you don't have any of this stuff, but start with the basics. Start with the helmet, start with boots, especially if you're on trails, like you need to have boots, gloves, goggles, start there. And then fill in the gaps. Honestly, a lot of this stuff I didn't always wear. And I started wearing because I learned lessons. I hurt my ribs, I bruised my sternum when I was a kid, I've bruised my hip on different trail rides, and it just kind of made me realize, like, I'm gonna wear a chest protector, and I'm also gonna wear hip pads, I'm gonna wear knee pads and elbow pads and things like that. I always try to find the middle ground of something that's both comfortable but also safe. I don't like having things that are super bulky and make me uncomfortable on the bike. When I used to ride adventure bikes, I kind of got super tired of just how much equipment I had on. I felt like I was unable to move properly because everything was so thick, and it makes sense when you're riding a bike 80 miles per hour down the road, you need a different level of protection than you need when you're riding on a trail. So it's important to find stuff that feels good in your body, you like the look of, you like the feel of, it fits you properly, and keep yourself safe. Hope you learned something in this video, and we'll see you in the next one.